Nancy. Well, you heard right, Moneyline with Nancy, and I'm sure you'll be asking, where's Nancy Naji? Well, Nancy is away, and I will be anchoring on this edition of the program. My name is Ehizoje Momo. Now, let's bring you up to speed with some of the happenings in the world of business. The Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, has directed all deposit money banks to close all Naira accounts for international money transfer operators, IMTOs. The CBN said this in a memo addressed to all deposit money bank payment service providers, PSPs, and IMTOs, a copy of which was posted on the CBN website. It also stated that the reason for this is to ensure that all diaspora remittances are received by beneficiaries and they are received in foreign currency only. Let's stay in the financial sector as the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, the NDIC, has disclosed that there are moves to revoke the license of 42 microfinance banks. And the NDIC says the move is to inform the depositors, creditors, shareholders, and the general public that the operating licenses of about 42 microfinance banks have been revoked. And this was done by the Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, effective the 12th of November 2020. The Board of Directors of the Africa Development Bank, that's the AFDB, has announced plans to borrow $10.4 billion from the capital market under its 2021 borrowing scheme. Now, this was made known by the AFDB in a statement on Sunday, and the AFDB cited that the board approved the decision on December the 11th, 2020 at a meeting in Abidjan. The AFDB noted that it played an active role in socially responsible investments and would increase its role in issuing of green and social bonds. All right, that's some of the latest happenings in the world of business. Today on the program, our eyes will be on the gas sector in Nigeria. Let's give you a bit of background to this topic which we will be discussing on the program this morning. Since inception in 2015, President Buhari-led administration has not hidden its desire to ensure that the country reaps bountifully from all the possible benefits of massive hydrocarbon in the country. Now, in consonance with these objectives, the federal government, through the Ministry of Petroleum Resources and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, has within the last 5 years literally unleashed a barrage of pro-gas activities designed primarily to create value in the gas sector. Now, let's look at some of these activities. We have the ongoing expansion of the Escravos Lagos gas pipeline system. That's the ELPS2. We also have the construction of the Oben, Obiafo, Obricom, and this is known as the OB3. That's the construction work under the gas sector. Also, the NLNG 27 final investment decision at FID, flag off of the 614-kilometer Ajakuta Kaduna Kano, what we call the AKK gas pipeline system. That's also on. And also the recent rollout of the auto gas scheme under the National Gas Expansion Program. Now, these are some of the activities which the federal government has been pushing in the last 5 years. On the program this morning, our guest, Olabode Sowunmi, an oil and gas expert, will be discussing the issue of Nigeria's gas sector and how we can harness the benefits of this sector. That will be after this short time out.
Hello everyone, welcome to the program. It's Moneyline with Nancy.
There is no other time than now that has been afforded us to reset the economy of Nigeria again.
It is in difficult time that nations take decisions to build their country.
Nancy, I think I would be remiss to say that, look, the Nigerian economy is vulnerable.
So we have to come up with strategies as government. How do we deal with this issue of hunger? How do we get food into people's hands?
Who is the subsidy favoring?
There is no subsidy, is zero. It's zero forever, Nancy.
Subsidy has never benefited the ordinary Nigerian. It has continued to benefit only the elite. The aspiration for us is to make Nigeria a net exporter of petroleum products.
You can join us on all our social media platforms. Find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Go to YouTube now and subscribe. Moneyline with Nancy TV.
All right, many thanks for still being there. It's Morning Line with Nancy, and it's an interview segment, and our eyes is on Nigeria's gas sector. My guest, Olabode Sowunmi, is already here, an oil and gas expert, and we will be looking at developments and happenings in Nigeria's gas sector. Good morning, Olabode Sowunmi.
Good morning.
Well, compliments of the season. It's not out of place.
No, absolutely not. It's the festive mood.
I hope you are in the festive mood.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
And you know why I'm asking. Well, we thank God. So, Olabode, when you were the last time you were on the program, you mentioned that Nigeria is yet to maximize the potential of the gas resources. Maybe we should start from there. Maybe you should throw more light on what you meant then, and then we'll continue from the developments that we have now.
Okay, thank you. I think primarily the thinking and the ethos of my suggestion at the time is that gas offers an opportunity for Nigeria to totally and genuinely industrialize, to the extent that you can actually have every single local government in Nigeria having a major factory that can employ, engage people, and that can be made available by gas, through gas industrialization and all that. But what the government has done, as at that time, I mean, which still exists now, was that they came up with a policy to develop the gas market, the local gas market. The thinking is that our local market could be as productive, as big as what we currently have in terms of exports. And that is able to happen with the development of the market. And anchoring on that is the DSO policy of the government, that's the domestic supply obligation, which institutes that everybody, every IOC, every producer of crude oil, producer of gas, must make available some amount of the gas that they produce for the local market. The thinking behind this is that by precipitating a supply of gas to the market, they will force industries to come up. And they divided the DSO basically into 3 to 4 areas. There's the gas to power, there's the gas-based industries, and then there's the commercialization. That's the use of gas to power engines, turbine, boilers, and the related. Of the DSO, the gas to power occupies between 65 to 70% of what is locally being used. And then you have the industries that use gas, like methanol, like fertilizer, and all that. So what we are looking at, or what we will expect, is that you will have significantly higher and bigger industries that will come up, not just in the south, but every area where gas is able to pass.
Now, that means that we need infrastructure to do all of this. And I while introducing this topic, we looked at some of the activities which the federal government is currently undertaking. And not to forget that the government had also declared, 2020 as the year of gas. And then the question will be, do we have the necessary infrastructure in place to drive all of these as it stands?
As at
today, are we on course?
As of today, we don't have the necessary infrastructure. Are we on course? I will put that as yes. primarily because long before now, the nation had come up with the gas master plan. The whole idea of the gas master plan is not a plan for some molecules to be moving. It's actually a development of infrastructure plan. And on that plan, some of the more repeated names that you hear, like the OB3 that you mentioned, which starts from our place in Edo. My wife is from Edo, so I tend to have sentiments for that. And OB3 is supposed to link the western bypass with the eastern, and then connect and serve as a feedstock to the AKK, which is basically going to run from Ajaokuta to Kaduna to Kano. Now, what is important is not so much as about the infrastructure themselves, but about the fact that every single place where this infrastructure passes through offers an opportunity for development. And it is the visionary, the focused people who are able to take advantage of that. An example is, in the case of Kaduna, which is tail end of where the governor has submitted a plan for the development of industrial parks to the body that is making the pipeline. So they're expecting that the development of the pipeline will take into cognizance certain areas where industries will come up. The implication of this is that they want to revive the northern textile mills that the Kaduna is known for. There will probably be other industries that will come up, from methanol to fertilizer to aluminium to steel. I mean, you name it. So it is not so much as the fact that we need to start complaining about the things that are not working. But it's more important that we look forward and look at what is actually happening and focus our attention to develop and industrialize not just the state himself, but to offer opportunities for the teeming youths
to get employed,
and gainfully engaged.
And we all know what unemployment is right now. I was still talking about activities in the sector. The president will be inaugurating the integrated gas handling facility, and that's expected to be done on Tuesday. In what way do you think this project in itself, will boost the nation's economy, generally the gross domestic product? Okay,
I think first of all, we should say a big commendation to the team. Well, it's the federal government, the NNPC, the NPDC, and the old people that came up with the idea and have put in some energy to make it work. But having said that, it's good to also put in perspective the benefit that this thing comes to. A couple of years ago, almost 20 years ago, the World Bank did a study on West Africa with respect to energy consumption uses. And for domestic, they actually focused on LPG. It is interesting that in that study, Nigeria was omitted. And one begins to wonder that a major gas producer in the world, a major oil exporter, was omitted from those studies, primarily because, with respect to statistics, our usage of LPG was significantly lacking. What this facility is doing is basically processing what you can call crude gas, that's the wet gas, the one that comes in from the oil well. When the gas comes in, it comes in with stones, metal debris, and all of that. So it needs to be distilled, the waste needs to be cleaned up. It needs to be cleaned up. And once it's cleaned up, it's now made available. So what is made available is LPG, that's liquefied petroleum gas, propane, and butane. And now, that facility for the cleanup is basically what is being launched. So in simple terms, there is going to be a lot more LPG available for that environment, which is basically our Edo State environment.
So generally,
and those that are in that
gas penetration is expected to increase?
Significantly. It's expected to increase significantly, and it's also expected to go lower. Not directly, but because it's going to offer opportunities. At the bedrock of every competitive advantage is choice. So if you have more gas, LPG being made available, then people have more choices. And with effective competition, prices go to what is realistic. So we expect that the prices will go to what is realistic within the environment and the time frame.
There are projections, from that project, and we're looking at the supply of about 26,400 cylinders of 12.5 kilograms of LPG daily to the homes of those in Benin and its environment. It's expected also that the price, for gas will be pushed down. But let's also look at the acceptance and generally by Nigerians for gas. Do you think that we also need to do some work in that regard? Because especially when you know that most of these people are within the lower Keda and would just prefer to face their firewood.
True. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. So one of the things that people need to understand, I mean, also anybody that manages anything of note is that simply because an item is good and is needed does not necessarily mean to be acceptable. And there are a lot of things throughout history that suggested. I mean, in his book, In Pursuit of Prosperity, by Kanosuke Matsushita, that's the founder of Panasonic. He spoke about the energy that they went through to make the Panasonic TV accepted, because it was cheaper. It was, the technology behind it, the framework technology behind it was strong. It was competing with Sony and everything that was available at that time. But the man himself had to go more like from day to day, trying to push it to ensure that people actually accept what was actually beneficial to them. So in simple terms, all of history, all of economic principles have shown that simply because an item is good and is needed does not necessarily mean that it's going to be acceptable to people. So the handlers of this needs to look for marketing strategies. They need to look for branding ethos that is going to go into the thinking of the rural areas. In simple terms, they need to borrow the ideologies that the politicians use to get votes, to get into the grassroots, the bottom of the pyramid, so to speak,
to make people
to engage them. Because the fact remains that in terms of energy usage, when you're going to calculate calories and all that, firewood is actually the most expensive form of generating energy. So the issues, the hindrances to LPG usage, such as the taxes that are on it, the import restrictions need to be looked at. They need to also look at penetration strategies. Maybe we need to develop special kind of stoves that is going to use gas. Maybe options need to, but the truth is that you're going to look at genuine industrialization, genuine development of people, and actually cheaper fuel made available to the bottom of the pyramid. This is talking about culture change. It's not going to happen overnight.
Now, talking about culture change and the need for Nigeria, the goals that have been set to meet the 2030, gas flare out deadline. How do you see these also helping?
Well, the auto gas launch, which was done, basically was one of the things to add teeth, to give a bite to the declaration of the year as gas. We need to understand that what the government is basically trying to do with the declaration is to say that we need to kickstart, we need to jumpstart our gas development. And so we need to put some focus within gas development. So by declaring the year as gas, it is expected that it's going to be in the eyes of everybody throughout that period. It's not just the year that was declared as gas, the decade was also declared as the decade of gas. So we're expecting that throughout, that has happened this year and that will happen.
So go into the decade, to 2030.
Into the decade, we're expecting that there will be a lot of uses of gas that is going to come up. And we are looking at, development of pharmaceuticals, we're looking at development of industries. There are a lot of people who may withdraw their residentship in the cities if there's a sufficient job for them in their village. It's not everybody that is crazy about traffic.
Just because the environment has not been made conducive.
Just because the environment has not been made conducive. If I'm in a certain village and I can earn 20 million naira a year.
like when many people, wanted to work in Port Harcourt because of the oil facilities, that were there. Now, still looking at the environment, the location of these facilities, what would be, your message as an oil and gas expert in this facility that will be launched, the importance of it in terms of job creation, importance of it in terms of availability of gas, creation of, reduction in gas flaring? What would be the message, to community, those in the communities on the need to, ensure that this facility is protected?
I think if there's ever a time, a desperate time, for people to understand the need to see infrastructure as local, state, and federal assets, it is now. Because it is not so much as the fact that the facility is destroyed, but it is what it does to the system. One of the things that is actually missing at local level, and to some extent even at federal level, is something that is called systems thinking. The fact that when you hinder a part of a system, the whole system actually goes down. And so when we talk about the system that will ensure industrialization, when you hinder certain aspects, it's not the facility in itself that is affected. It's the fact that the opportunities and for industrialization goes, the opportunity for development goals, the opportunity for greater opportunities for choices in life, the opportunity for a robust, civilized environment actually disappears. So when we look at the systems that are going to be destroyed in the long chain, then there is a need for us to see it, to take it to say, look, this thing, somebody may own it, but it's ours. You understand? It's, my grandfather died when my father was still a baby, and he left some property for him. And those property was held in trust until he was of age. He could have turned the papers when he was 10 years old, but that doesn't discountenance the fact that the property, even though he does not have access to it, is ultimately his own. So irrespective of who is manning the facility and all of that, the fact
Whoever
that
is working there. Or
yes, the fact that it's in your land means that ultimately they are going to leave one day and it's going to become yours. So that long-term perspective needs to be looked at. And on the basis of that, you need to look at how it's going to develop the people, how it's going to turn around a system where every single person, in Sweden, minimum wage is about $1,800. We will want a situation where our plumbers get $1,800 per day. It is possible, but it's going to take a lot of thinking.
Maybe we should also enlighten our viewers on the profitability of this facility. Now, at full operational capacity, and that includes the facility processing of gas, the NPDC, Integrated Gas Handling Facility, is able to yield about 82 million. Talking about the gas facility that can be done per day of lean gas or methane, and that's an equivalent of about 366.5 megawatts of power. When you translate this to naira and kobo, this time in dollars, you have about $205,000 per day, and that's approximately about $75 million per year. This is a very serious project.
It's a very serious project, but it's also important on a number of grounds. One of the first things is that in the past, you will have this investment, the money is talking about, will have been borrowed or brought in from somebody who is going to now own like 60% of the value. But one way or the other, we have gotten it right, or it appears that we have gotten it right, and the total investment has come in from us, and we all own it. So when things like this happen, it doesn't matter whether it has happened through NPDC or NNPC or even through Coca-Cola, whatever.
We should all embrace it.
We should all embrace it and let it be the beginning of a system.
Now, in conclusion, Olabode, beyond the integrated gas handling facility, what do you think, are the other things that government, needs to do going forward to maximize, its hydrocarbon endowments?
There are a lot of states in Nigeria that have some amount of hydrocarbon or mineral resources. I don't want to go into it because of the politics and all of that. But whether they have it or they don't have it, or they're trying to get some money from the federal government or not, what is more important, like the Kaduna state governor has done, is that they have set themselves up for a position to take advantage of what is happening. It would be nice if we start to see every government facility. By that, I'm talking about local government, I'm talking about state government, developing plans for industrialization along these lines. There are also opportunities for individuals. It should be understood that Agbara Estate, which is on the border between Lagos and Ogun, was actually the dream child of one man, Adeyemi Lawson. And he came up with the idea in the 70s, at some point of an industrial park. They started it. Obviously, it's not going to be. It was not going to be something that happened overnight. But at a point in time, the federal government took over it, but that's an issue for another day. But the point is, every single local government has the opportunity to actually do an industrialization within their facility. So with all the huge land that we talk about,
that are just there.
And the people that are abandoning farms and all that, this is a challenge. And this is not dependent on just federal government. So it's no longer an excuse for you to say this person is not doing this. It's an opportunity to say within the limitations that we have. This is what we are doing to ensure that the nation moves forward and that our people become the bright and special people that we know they are.
So just a perfect way to leave this conversation, and we hope that the state governments would take your advice, especially with the fact that we have been complaining of dwindling revenue. There's a need, to be innovative as well as to get new money, fresh money that can show up whatever that is coming from the federal government purse. Olabode Sowunmi, oil and gas expert, joined us on the program this morning, and we've looked at the hydrocarbon endowment of Nigeria and what needs to be done to ensure that we harness the benefit. And as he has said, we are on course. I take it that we're on course, and the only thing is that we should remain on course. We shouldn't go back, so that when next we come, we'll be discussing on more of the achievements in the gas sector. Always a pleasure having you, Olabode Sowunmi.
Pleasure is all mine.
Thank you very much. All right.